Melissa from Going My Own Pace here. I am fresh back from the chiropractor. My pelvis was so badly out of place that when the chiropractor walked in the room, she thought I was lying on something. My pelvis was not flat. It was so out of place, it was kind of torqued. So it was the biggest adjustment I've ever had. And actually, the release that happened just from her, she had me cross my feet while I was lying on my stomach. And then she held her hand just gently in one place and had me breathe. And just that put it back into place. I got such a fright. And it felt like my butt was on fire because it had been, she said there was like a mass amount of swelling and inflammation in the joint, obviously, because it was so stuck. So we discussed what have I been doing, and I have been spending too much time at the computer. I'm not supposed to, I shouldn't, I know, and I had a good system. So I work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in the middle of the school hours. So I get my kids all ready, which no mean feat, off to kindy and school, and then I come back and work. But usually I will take a break and never sit at the computer for very long, right? I get up and get a coffee, I go and walk the dog, I come and go. But because I've been so obsessed with my stories, I've been trying to get my work done, like in a compact amount of time, and then I work on my book. And I know it's not been working because I get to a point and then I know that I've like overdone it and should pull back, but I can't because I'm desperate to get my like goal achieved, and then I end up with a massive headache because of my thing. But what I didn't realize is I was also upsetting my pelvis very badly. And then the last few Mondays and Fridays, they are meant to be my kind of business days and my chores days, because with 4 children and all of the activities they do and my husband working very long hours, there's just not enough time to get this stuff done. So those are my days to do those things. But again, what I've been doing is rushing through the chores, exhausting myself, and then working on the book. And look, I have been sick most of my life. I have been tightly boxed in by boundaries for my whole life. And this whole feeling a bit better thing is very new. And so I keep crashing and burning myself. And it's a balance, right? It's a balance. I don't know. My boundaries are moving so much. Things are changing so much. So yes, it's a learning curve. But I can pull the pedal off now. The problem is, so I allowed myself this year to start writing fiction because that has been my dream since I was very small. I started writing nonfiction by accident because I started my blog 11 years ago. I was pregnant with my first son. I only had the word fibromyalgia at the time. Nobody knew what to do with me. Like at the beginning of the pregnancy, they sent me to a specialist. They didn't know what to do with me, so they sent me away and no one had any help. And then I was on my own. And so I started a blog, at first to kind of share my experience. And then, of course, I learnt stuff and I was researching. And obviously there's not a lot of literature. But then one year, I realized that I had a lot of content sitting there, and if I could just collate it together and add some additional stuff, I could have a book. And so then I wrote my first tiny nonfiction book, Pregnancy and Fibromyalgia. None of that time was really spent on the computer because at that point I really couldn't sit at the computer for almost any amount of time. Excuse me. So my brother helped me a lot with that. And over the years, I just kept writing and following my nose, and people were, telling me what they were concerned about, worried about, wondering about. And so then I collated enough blog posts for another book. And then I wrote Melissa versus Fibromyalgia. And then the most recent one was Fibromyalgia Won't Win. And then a whole lot of things happened in my health in the last few years, and we found out that I have hypermobility spectrum disorder, and probably not fibromyalgia. And a lot of people keep saying, but you can have it too. And yes, you can have it too. And it doesn't actually really matter what you call it, as long as you understand what is happening and you treat the symptoms you have. So for example, for me, it's been very important to learn to protect my joints and to stop the danger signals going to my nervous system from my joints being pushed out of their regular range of motion. But that's another story. So I refined a process where most of my writing happens on the phone, and that's what I do with my blog, and that's how I've written my books. And then this year I said, I have to do this now. And so I got the book flew out of my head because I'd had this idea percolating for a while, and when I gave myself permission, it just flew out. And so Mindfully Yours Ella is coming. It is, my brother is doing the final edit, so I've used myself, a beta reader, an editing software. Now my brother is doing a edit/format or a proofread/format, and then I'll order an author proof, and then it will be available on the 1st of May. But I can't stop, and I keep having more ideas, and so I've got a sequel that I'm thinking of publishing at Christmas, because it's kind of centered around Christmas time. And I have another sequel because there's a character in the book that I fell in love with and wanted a story for her. And so my ideas are just pinging, and I can't stop. And I love it. I love it so, so much. But I mean, when you're a mama with 4 kids, a part-time job, a blog, a house to run, there is no, there's no real time. So the only time is the fringe hours. And so there's no rest. So I put my pelvis out of place and I got into a flare. So I'm coming back on track, and I'm coming back on track by being honest with myself. Stop flying by the seat of my pants, because that's not how I roll. I roll best with a little bit of control and then flexibility within that. So coming back to my symptom tracking, coming back to the pain management plan, and listening to myself instead of waving to my boundaries as I walk past them. Listening. And so I have not touched the computer today, which means there is no new blog post. And I haven't done any of the 100 things I would like to do, but I have done what I am supposed to be doing in my life. And I'm going to take more rest today. And that's hard. That's really hard when you're this close to a goal that you're just so desperate for. But I've reminded myself that the first goal was finishing the book. I finished a fiction story, which very few actually finish. So many people say they'd like to write, but they don't actually finish. Then I had people who were not me or related to me read it and like it. Big goal, big dream, right? And so now the next thing will be for me to be able to physically hold it in my hands with the author copy. And the final thing will be having it available like a proper author, and people can buy it and read it like I'm an author. And look, I know it's silly because I have already published 4 books for adults, nonfiction, and 3 books for kids. But this feels like something else. It feels more scary and more exciting, and I can't wait, but I need to chill out, and that's very hard. Has anybody else around here like this? Has anyone else been just so overwhelmed with their illness for so much of their life that they kind of sabotage their own improvement because they just don't know how to stop, and they're just so excited to be almost normal or almost achieving what you want to achieve? Let me know, because it's hard. The tangle of okay, I'm doing a bit better, so where is that line? And look, when I pass that line and I feel terrible, I know for sure I will always prioritize my quality of life over functionality. I would rather enjoy my life and not experience negative stimuli at all times and make my nervous system worse, because you always are going to rack it up like that. I would rather have a nice experience and a smaller life than a large life full of symptoms, because even if I could tolerate that, and it frightens me now when I get a flare, it frightens me, and I have to think, okay, what if? What would I do? And all of those big emotions that come with it. But also it's unsustainable anyway. So even if you were to push that, it wouldn't last very long. I've seen it, I saw it. I was burnt out when I finally started on this healing journey. And so then it was burnout plus an overactive nervous system plus the symptoms I was dealing with. So really you've got to keep your body clear so that it's free to seek equilibrium and work as close to healing as it can be. I don't know if my sacroiliac joints are ever going to be happy. I think they were out of place for far too long, and pregnancy really, really, really ruined them, and lack of treatment and understanding of what was happening. So I'm not sure if I'll ever be comfortable in that place. I don't know if I could be pain-free in that way, but I would spend forever chasing the feelings that I've had recently. Yeah, so that's a big thing. But anyway, let me know, because I would really love to connect with other people in the same situation who've had pain for a very long time and symptoms for a very long time. And then where are you in this messy middle? How does it look? What do you do? How do you keep yourself on track? All that stuff. And if you have any questions, let me know below. If you want to know all of the things I've done to kind of be better, loads of videos, loads and loads. You can search below, and I'll put my top treatments link below for you. Anyway, thank you for bearing with me. I'm so glad you're here, and I'll talk to you soon.